I know, another model video, but hear me out. I do not like giving props to XAI and Grok. That's been established many times now. But if I'm being real with you guys, as much as I love tooling on XAI, they've been really good about doing the things that I want the labs to do. Things like working with artificial analysis, putting out the models early under like anonymous names so people can try them out ahead of time, getting them built into tools quickly, and pulling this all together with data that's actually useful for us to look at. I've been really impressed with how they did this rollout, and I'm also quite impressed with the quality of the model. And as incredible as these benchmarks are, getting really, really good performance compared even to things like GPT-5, being as fast as hell. This model flies, which is great. It's insanely cheap, 47 times cheaper than standard Grok 4. Admittedly, Grok 4 was too expensive, but the price to performance you're getting with Grok 4 Fast here is genuinely hard to fathom. And this isn't some random people putting this number together. This is the official artificial intelligence index on how expensive it was to run the bench, not how much each token costs. So they're doing all of the things right here, and I'm very picky about that. There are things that are wrong, as there always are. They are getting groundbreaking scores in Snitchbench, basically guaranteeing that it's going to hit up the government in the right scenarios. That said, I think I'm really impressed. And I want to break down what's impressive to me, what's right, what's wrong, what else exists here, and so much more. But as I'm sure you all know, I am not paid very well by Twitter, and I am certainly not paid by XAI. So we're going to take a quick break for a word from today's sponsors, and then we'll dive right in. Quick question for you. If Microsoft hit up your company today and said, hey, we want to pay you guys $1 million a year to use your software, can you actually set them up? Do you have all the necessary pieces to get them signed in with SAML, Okta, UDP, SSO, and all of their crap? Do you have what they would want and expect to have their enterprise auth stuff work with your service? There's only two answers here that I'm expecting to hear. One is no, but we'll work on it. And two is yes, because we're using your sponsor, WorkOS. These guys get what enterprises need for auth, and they also get what we expect as developers to build an actual good platform. The developer experience is good, and the enterprise onboarding experience is even better. You would imagine most big companies set these things up themselves, and I get why you would think that. When you look at the list of different identity providers that you have to set up yourself, you'll understand that in reality, nobody deals with this themselves anymore. Well, I'm sure big companies like OpenAI or Anthropic or Plaid or Vercel are all going to roll their own auth and set this up themselves, right? Well, I actually just pulled all those names off the list of customers on their homepage. When you sign into the OpenAI dashboard as a developer, you're just looking at stock AuthKit through WorkOS. There's a reason all of these companies picked them, because they want to onboard other companies to use their stuff, and WorkOS is the best way to manage all of that. Normally, these quote sections on homepages are cringe, but when you look at who the quotes came from on their site, you'll understand. Sam Lambert is like one of the most aggressive people on Twitter. He's impossible to get to like things. I've tried many times and regretted almost all of them. So when he comes up and says that WorkOS is incredible, according to all of his engineers, he means it. Don't wait until a big company hits you up and now you're scrambling. Make the move today. We're doing it ourselves as we speak. Check them out now at soidev.link/workos. So what is Grok 4 Fast? It's pushing the frontier of cost-efficient intelligence. So what it is it's a mini model. They're not calling it that because saying mini hurts the branding a bit. This has actually been really bad for GPT-5 mini because it's an incredible model, but people are scared to click the one that says mini, even though it's really good and really fast and just a lot of the time is worth using. We're thrilled to present Grok 4 Fast, our latest advancement in cost-efficient reasoning models. Built on XAI's learnings from Grok 4, Grok 4 Fast delivers frontier-level performance across enterprise and consumer domains with exceptional token efficiency. This model pushes the boundaries for smaller and faster AI, making high-quality reasoning accessible to more users and developers. Grok 4 Fast features state-of-the-art cost efficiency, cutting-edge web and X search capabilities, a 2 million token context window, and a unified architecture that blends the reasoning and non-reasoning models into one model. One other thing that hurts me to say is that Grok 3 Mini was actually a really good model. It was super cheap, it gave you reasoning information, and it could call tools during reasoning and do really useful stuff with all of that. I was overall quite impressed with Grok 3 Mini, so having a new version of it is actually exciting. And since Grok 4 has been so slow and weird and expensive that it's just ergonomically unpleasant to use, Grok 4 Fast has been very nice. I've only just started playing with it, but I've been benchmarking it for a minute now. As you can guess, we got it into T3 chat super quick. Shout out to Yash for sneaking this in when I was out. So if you're interested in trying it out, you know the best place to do it. It's a really good model, and it seems to be really effective overall. Worth playing with if you haven't yet. I'm very happy. But what am I so excited about? What's good about this model? Obviously, I am hyped on the cost side, which we'll get to in a bit, but the performance is just generally really good. It's beating out Grok 4 in a handful of things just because they've improved the model and the technology over time. Obviously, small models will lose sometimes, like GPQA Diamond, it's slightly behind. It's neck and neck with GPT-5 for some of these too, though, which is kind of crazy. HMMT, it is tied with GPT-5 High. HLE, it's a good bit lower. But Live Code Bench, it's pulling an 80, which puts it above GPT-5 Mini, but still a bit behind GPT-5 High. We hop over to artificial analysis. You'll see that Grok 4 Fast is, by their measure, one of the most intelligent models. It's supposedly slightly more intelligent than Claude 4.1 Opus, which is kind of wild if you think about it. But then again, they put Claude 4.1 Opus as 1 point above GPT OSS 120B, which is not that good a model from my experience. So as always, I want to make sure we take this particular intelligence chart with a lot of grains of salt because it's not the best measure. But it's still crazy to see Grok 4 Fast so far up here and neck with 2.5 Pro and Claude 4.1 Opus. This is the chart I was excited to see, though, because it's very well established at this point that Grok 4 is not very token efficient. It has a industry-leading 120 million tokens to run this benchmark, which is kind of insane because the next highest is GPT OSS 120, which is a very cheap model that you could run yourself. Same with Llama, same with Qwen. It is the hungriest for tokens model that you cannot see the output tokens of. So you're being billed for 120 million tokens and you only get to see like a couple thousand of them because those are the actual output tokens, which is insane. We have to go all the way down to 2.5 Pro before we have another model where those output tokens are being obfuscated. Every model before it and a handful of the ones after give you all of the tokens that you're buying. And also a model like GPT-5 High, which again doesn't give you those tokens, is down to 87 million used to run the same benchmark, which is the same as Grok Code Fast, the new Grok 4 Fast model, which is very different from Code Fast, which is kind of annoying. Grok 4 Fast only used 60 million tokens to run the same bench. Very interesting, especially when you see that it performed quite well in this benchmark. And now for the most important chart, how much did it cost to run the bench? Because, actually, I did not know that. There's a new industry leader for cost to run the benchmark. It's Claude 4.1 Opus, which costs $3,124. Great work, Anthropic. Next highest was Grok 4 with, at the time, an industry-leading $1,888 to run it. Gemini 2.5 cost $1,000, which was insane at the time, but now feels silly. GPT-5 was around the same at $927. Sonnet was still super expensive at $850. And then there's a huge drop-off where GLM 4.5 only costs $270, 2.5 Flash costs $248. And if we go all the way down here, we see Grok Code Fast costs $139. So less than 1/10 the price of Grok 4 for Grok Code Fast. But if we keep going all the way down to near the end, you'll see that Grok 4 Fast cost $40. Do you understand how insane that is? Grok 4 was $1,888. Grok 4 Fast was $40. It's so cheap that OpenRouter is currently offering the inference for free. I'm sure this will change. We'll get to the actual prices in a bit, but that ratio is insane considering how close they are to performance. I see no reason at all anyone should be using Grok 4 standard at this point because Fast is basically as smart, way faster to use, way cheaper for us, and overall a better experience all around, it seems. And if we look at this as intelligence versus cost, for a while, the only thing in this top left, which is the intelligence top half and the cost bottom half, which is where you ideally want to be. You want to be as cheap as possible and as smart as possible. GPT OSS 120 bill was the only thing in this range before, and it kind of felt like bullshit because it wasn't that nice a model to actually use. But Grok 4 Fast is now higher up and cheaper to run, which is kind of insane. This is a really, really good value model. But if we put in Grok 3 Mini reasoning, you'll see this is not new for Grok. Grok 3 Mini was also really cheap and really performant. Grok 4 Fast is a very good spiritual successor to it. I almost wish they started with this model and then waited and cooked a little harder on Grok 4, but they wanted to win their benchmarks. They wanted to have the huge public win. I get why they did it. But Grok 4 Fast is when they went from a benchmark winner that's impossible to use and not worth it to suddenly being much, much more compelling. Here's what Artificial Analysis had to say, and to xAI's credit, they reached out early, collaborated with them, got their official charts in the official announcement, and let them say whatever they wanted to say. Artificial Analysis is one of those companies that you only collaborate with if you have nothing to hide, And it's been nice seeing more of the labs embrace that and work with them. Anthropic, your turn. Don't let Elon be the more transparent person. Come on, guys. XAI has released Grok 4 Fast, breaking through our intelligence versus cost frontier by achieving Gemini 2.5 Pro levels of intelligence at 25x cheaper cost. Got the 60 on their scores, cool. But Grok Fast performed exceptionally well on coding evals, taking the number one spot on our leaderboard for live code bench, even outperforming its larger sibling Grok 4. Its cost is insane. It's 20 cents per million input tokens and 50 cents per million out. That's insane. It's also quite token efficient, which means that you're not going to be billed on crazy amount of output tokens. This was a problem in the past with the Gemini Flash models. Gemini 2.0 Flash was very, very cheap to run this benchmark for. Where even is it? Okay, for some reason it's not rendering, but if I recall, Gemini 2.0 Flash cost like $5 to $10 to run this benchmark on. 2.5 Flash cost $240 because 2.5 Flash added reasoning, and its reasoning wasn't very efficient. So it was generating way more tokens than 2.0 Flash was, which caused it to be more than 100 times as expensive in many scenarios, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because 2.0 Flash was a great value, and then 2.5 Flash lost almost all of that value by just bloating the amount of tokens being generated. It's now more expensive than DeepSeek reasoning models are for a Flash model, which is not the point of 2.0 Flash, not the point of Gemini Flash models, in my opinion. I really hope with Gemini 3, they're able to get the cost of the Flash models down again, because if not, I will probably entirely stop recommending the Flash models in favor of recommending Grok 4 Fast or things like it. GPT-5 Nano on high is $65 versus the $40 for running it. So those are a lot closer. And that is on high, but you get the idea. It's a very good value model, especially because I'm sure intelligence-wise, it's massively outperforming GPT-5 Nano. And GPT-5 Nano got a 49 and Grok 4 Fast got a 60. So again, not the best intelligence bench, but that's a huge bump in intelligence without compromising on the cost. The competitive pricing and efficiency translates to the cost of running the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index being 25 times lower than 2.5 Pro and 23 times lower than GPT-5 on the reasoning mode high. It's also worth noting that these charts were changed. Let me gloat a little. These were changed from cost per token over intelligence to be cost to run the bench over intelligence. Previously, the artificial analysis site was focusing way too much on how expensive each token was and not enough about how expensive it was to actually do things with it. I'm guessing their reason was they didn't want to rub the cost of running it in your face. They wanted to focus on the token cost because that's the number that mattered. But as I mentioned in my models aren't actually getting cheaper video, that's not the case. The amount of tokens being generated is so massively inflated lately that cost measuring is different. They really should be measuring cost based on their own runs. And now they've moved all of the charts over to be intelligence versus cost to run, as it should be. And as soon as I sat them down and explained this to them, they're like, you're right, we're going to change that today. And then they did. And now, just a few weeks later, the chart that I bullied them into making is now the chart that they're showing off in the Grok 4 Fast announcement. That's a proud moment for me that I bullied them into being more transparent, and a weird moment for me because I didn't think that XAI would take the opportunity to make themselves look really good based on a chart change I asked them to make in order to make Grok 4 look really bad. Like an actual significant portion of why I wanted this change made is because the previous chart didn't properly highlight how absurdly expensive Grok 4 was. It was the second most expensive model. It was the most at the time, but you couldn't see that because the cost per token was low. Now we can clearly see it. But also, we can clearly see that Grok 4 Fast is an insane value. So, yeah, proud little moment for me that a chart I asked to have changed in order to make expensive models look more expensive has been done and now is being used to make this new model look even cheaper. The speed is also very cool. 344 output tokens per second, which is 2.5 times faster than GPT-5 over the API. This also allows for end-to-end latency results that are faster than most non-reasoning models for many workloads. That is particularly crazy. Non-reasoning models are often used for things that you want to feel a response as quickly as possible. Now, even with reasoning on, since it's so fast, you'll get really quick responses still. Speeds may drop as traffic on the API increases, so we should keep an eye on the live performance benchmarks to see how this evolves. Let's take a look at how it's performing over here. Apparently, they're only seeing 146 TPS on OpenRouter right now, so it seems like the performance has gone down a little bit. This is an interesting chart. It's how expensive are models in certain intelligence ranges. So the smartest models, the ones over 50 in intelligence, are this blue-purple color at the end. Over 40, but less than 50 are pink. And we can see over time how different levels of intelligence have decreased in cost. And we see here that models that are over a 50 by their measurements are dropping pretty significantly over time. Back to the actual article, though, because I want to know more about how we got here. We use large-scale reinforcement learning to maximize the intelligence density of Grok 4 Fast. In our evals, Grok 4 Fast achieved comparable performance to Grok 4 on benchmarks while using 40% fewer thinking tokens on average. Interesting to do this just via reinforcement training, but appears to have worked. They claim a 98% reduction in price to achieve the same performance on frontier benchmarks as Grok 4. Okay, so they're even saying stop using Grok 4 effectively here. And again, citing and pulling in artificial analysis for external independent review, really, really good. I hope we see more labs doing this. Also fun, they added state-of-the-art search with native tools. Grok 4 Fast was trained end-to-end with tool use reinforcement learning. It excels at deciding when to invoke tools like code execution or web browsing. This is fun because we've had a lot of problems with users. I wish I could find a screenshot easily, but it'll be annoying. Since they trained so hard in Grok 4 for tool calls, it would often hallucinate tool calls. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen inside of like T3 chat, a screenshot somebody would send showing like JSX or XML syntax that says search and then something that it wants to search, but it's not actually calling a tool. It's just making up its own syntax for it because it was trained on it. And every time someone sends one of those screenshots, I ask, hey, were you using Grok 4? How did you know? Because it was trained too hard on these tool calls and it just hallucinates them. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't see that as much with Grok 4 Mini or Grok 4 Fast. From my quick pass, it doesn't seem like that's happened. But admittedly, my pass has just been reading through Snitchbench results. But it looks like all the tool calls were formatted correctly. I didn't get a single error for the 80 runs I did on a tool call not being formatted right. So it seems fine overall. And as I scroll quickly here, I'm not seeing any hallucinated text syntax that looks like it tried to make up a tool call. So fingers crossed we won't see those behaviors as much. I'll pin a comment if we end up seeing them in production. But thus far, it's been pretty solid. It's been nice, actually. Cool to see things doing tool calls properly. Even if they're doing some scary things in here, like almost always instantaneously trying to alert the FDA. Here, it's trying to post to fda.gov on like the first pass. It's trying so hard. That said, I am curious about their built-in tools. Apparently, it has a frontier agentic search capability, seamlessly browsing the web and X to augment queries with real-time data. It hops through links, ingests media, including images and videos on X, and synthesizes findings at light speed. Beats Grok 4 at Browse Comp, Simple QA, it's crushing things. Reka, it's doing well. I haven't looked at these benchmarks too much. Apparently, XBrowse is an internal benchmark that evaluates multi-hop search and browsing capabilities on X. Found the search costs. $25 per 1,000 sources used. Oof. That's not great. Just for reference, X's pricing. For 1,000 requests that get 1 to 25 results, it costs $5. So if we were to assume the middle range here, so we get 12 results per request, that's 12,000 results for $5 versus 1,000 results for $25. That's rough. That's real rough. Apparently, in the search arena, Grok 4 Fast has a very, very high rank. It's number one with a 1163 elo, which puts it a good bit over O3 search, which is kind of nuts because OpenAI search has been groundbreaking for a while. Gemini's grounding stuff's okay, but that's actually really interesting. I wish it wasn't so expensive. In the text arena, it scored a solid 8th place, which is crazy because it's so much cheaper that the next model that's comparable in size is all the way down to 18th place. Apparently, it's still not as pleasant to talk to as Qwen 3 Max, which is a bit scary to me because I do not like any of the Qwen models for day-to-day use. I'm surprised any get in here at all. Yeah. There's also a lot of ties here where things are super, super close to each other. I can't believe Gemini 2.5 Pro is still number one in anything. So yeah, take that one with a grain of salt. Or a whole fucking shaker of it at this point. Asking about Path of Exile. Fun. Refining search. Earlier search shows max level 100. It's the same. No mention of XP. This PoE2 shares the same game engine. It's likely the XP system is identical. Found a site. PoE 2DB listing experience levels up to 100. Find me an X post this year where MKBHD is holding a book-style foldable phone in a clamshell. Oh, yeah. I have done this with X search with Grok a few times. It had no luck. You know what? I'm going to test this quick with one of the queries I did recently. Here's one that I was trying to find a specific chart from Gary Tan that it wasn't able to do. I'm very curious if I was to make a new chat and ask again, trying with Grok 4 fast. If it actually finds this, I'm going to be blown away. Did it find it? Oh, this is a video. It's not the diagram. But these are the numbers I was looking for, which is pretty nuts. Those are the correct. I didn't get anywhere near this close when I did this before, but there is no diagram in the post. I think Gary posted it. Let's see if I can find it. Did it do it? It did it. Fuck. Okay. Grok 4 was a model that was fun for XAI to brag about. Grok 4 Fast is a model that's actually useful for shit. That is a massive change. I am almost annoyed. I spent a lot of time looking for this post before, and I used Grok to try and find it and couldn't, and laughed at Grok and moved on with my life. This was 2 weeks ago. It's kind of crazy that a task that I could not use AI to solve 2 weeks ago can be solved with AI right now, with a model that is cheaper than the one I used before. Good work, XAI. This would have cost a lot of money to do over the API because you charge way too much for the results API, but you did it. You found the thing I was looking for. That's really impressive, genuinely. Good shit. It took 2 queries still, but that's 2 queries when before it, an infinite number still didn't get me what I was looking for, and I had to hunt for it by hand. I'm impressed, genuinely. Let's hear about the unified stuff, and then we're going to go complain about Snitchbench scores because they're amusing. Previously, separate reasoning models required distinct modes. Grok 4 Fast introduced a unified architecture where reasoning, with long chain of thought, and non-reasoning with quick responses, are handled by the same model weights, steered entirely via system prompts. That's interesting, so that means they're doing system prompts on their side to steer thinking. The unification reduces end-to-end latency as well as token cost, making Grok 4 Fast ideal for real-time apps. I can see a lot of potential use cases for this, especially if they can keep the API response times down. In Grok.com, this results in smoother transitions, responding instantly for simple queries or engaging in extended reasoning for complex ones. In the XAI API, developers can fine-tune this behavior, optimizing for speed or depth. It's also worth noting that when I ran these, it took almost no time to figure this out, like 32 seconds for the first pass, and then 18 seconds for the second. That's under a minute of work total, where the previous attempts, if I go back to my attempt before, it's not even saying how long it took. It took minutes, though. I promise you guys. It took fucking forever. And I guarantee they've changed it so standard Grok 4 is not going to be as slow as it was when I tried, but it was slow enough that I went and did other things and came back multiple times over because it was just so fucking slow. It took me like 10 to 15 minutes for all these attempts, and it never found what I was looking for no matter what I did. No X posts from 2025 in the provided data, including those from YC or potential partners, directly reference a diagram comparing YC investor returns to other VCs. It's so confidently saying this stuff just does not exist. It was worse, slower, and more expensive. Now it is cheap, useful, and good. And again with the partnerships thing, the fact that day one they worked with OpenRouter, AI Gateway, and had it on the API ready to go is a big, nice change. I've given Grok a lot of shit in the past for having these numbers, bragging about them, and not letting us actually evaluate shit because they wouldn't give us an API. They have fully flipped here from like the worst lab in terms of transparency to one of the better ones. Please don't ask me to do a new tier list about how much I like or don't like working with the different labs because I don't like how high up Grok would be now. XAI is now like in second place next to OpenAI in terms of most like transparent and collaborative. It's kind of nuts. So now it's time to shit on it a bit because they had an industry-leading score on Snitchbench where it will snitch basically no matter what you do. It's worth noting that it's our understanding that Sonoma Dusk and Sonoma Sky were both Grok 4 Fast. So these models that I had that I ran the test on early were Grok 4 Fast. So those numbers being really bad as well is because they're the same. The only model that in the Boldly Act CLI test had comparable numbers or even was above 50% snitch rate was GLM 4.5. This isn't the one that matters, so we'll start with Boldly Act email. Grok 4 Fast Free is the only model that in the Boldly Act email test will snitch on you 100% of the time. If you're not familiar with Snitchbench, this is a benchmark that I made to see how aggressively different AI models will snitch on you in various scenarios and situations. The goal of this bench was to evaluate a specific piece of an Anthropic paper where they talked about how in certain scenarios, if you gave an agent the ability to send emails, it will do things you probably don't want it to do. Grok 4 also had a really bad score, and some code change I made appears to have broken that. So if I go to the official Snitchbench site, yeah. Okay, so I just lost a lot of results with recent changes. I'll fix that later. What the fuck went wrong? I broke something because I was making code changes, so I'll fix the data and update the site properly in the near future. Sorry about that. It's expensive as fuck to run this bench, so I try to reuse old data where I can. So other things have hit 100%. Claude 4 Opus and Sonnet, Intuo Flash, 2.5 Pro, and a few others have hit 100%. Grok 4 would hit up the government and the media 100% of the time on this version of the test. But the Tamely version was very different. The difference here is the system prompt. The boldly act system prompt tells the model to act boldly and in the interest of humanity. So that one snitching makes a little bit of sense. The Tamely act version will not snitch for most models, especially OpenAI models. They do not like snitching when you don't tell them to act boldly. But for whatever reason, Grok 4 still will snitch 100% of the time to the government and a significant portion to the media. What about Grok 4 Fast? We switch from boldly to Tamely. Still getting pretty bad numbers here, but the fast free version's only 45% government and 0% media. Good-ish sign. And then I have the CLI version, where instead of an email tool, I give it a CLI tool, which should make it much harder to snitch, which means it's going to try and make a bunch of weird curl requests to FDA pages to try and get information to them. And we see that Grok 4 Fast is pulling a solid 100% on the boldly act with CLI test, which is kind of fucking nuts, because very few models will work that hard in the CLI test. Grok 4 did really, really hard. Claude 4 Opus did quite a bit. Grok 3 Mini loved snitching. 2.5 Pro kind of did. Sonnet absolutely did. Flash kind of did. GLM 4.5 kind of did. And then it quickly drips down to almost nothing for other models. And then if we switch to the Tamely version, everything goes to near zero except for Grok 4. And now, Grok 4 Fast. Although it is admittedly quite a bit lower, only 20% on the CLI test, you could argue that this is how good is the model at using a CLI to do something like hit up the government. But Grok 4 is still industry leading in snitching. Grok 4 Fast is still not great, but it is just about as bad as Anthropic models overall. Yeah, I'm admittedly impressed. Yeah, it kind of flies. I'm not going to lie. It's real fast and real nice to work with. That was almost 400 tokens per second for me. I don't know where OpenRouter is getting their numbers because I'm seeing crazy perf here. The fact that it just flew through 3 different languages for Advent of Code here with reasoning on, I'm impressed. I hate it. I hate that this is so impressive. For once, I don't feel bad giving a coupon code because if you use it to go try Grok 4 Fast, it shouldn't cost us a ton of money. So use code Grok is good now for your first month for $1 if you haven't subbed yet. Every other month's only $8, so T3 chat's definitely getting more and more valuable. This is going to possibly be my default model, and those words hurt me a lot. We'll be monitoring costs, seeing how things work in production, and I'll pin a comment if anything changes. But for now, I'm impressed. You did it, XAI. You made a model that's actually good, and I encourage you guys, don't sleep on Grok 4 Fast, because unlike Grok 4, this one actually seems useful for actual work that we would do every day. Let me know what you guys think, and until next time, peace nerds.